Let's examine Arrangement View more closely, starting with the window setup and the track controls. So I've got the Arrangement View project open if you want to follow along. And right now this looks really busy to me, so let's close some of these areas of the window that we don't need open. So over on the left here, we can close the browser by clicking on this toggle switch. And we can do that by key command. That's going to be Command Option B if you're on a Mac, or Control Alt B if you're on a PC. Similarly, I can go down here to the bottom and I can close the mixer view. By the way, this is new that we can see this in the arrangement view in Ableton Live 12. We can close this if we don't want to see it visible. And we can also close device view. And we can do that using these toggle switches down at the bottom, or we can do that by key command. And the mixer is going to be Command Option M if you're on a Mac, or Control Alt M if you're on a PC. And device view, we can do the same thing by going Command Option 4 if you're on a Mac, or Control Alt 4 if you're on a PC. If clip view had been open, and if I want to open that, one of the ways I can do that is by double clicking on a clip. But now I can open and close that also by key command by going Command Option 3 if you're on a Mac, or Control Alt 3 if you're on a PC. All right. So over on the far right here, we have the track controls. And currently, we're only seeing the track header. But if I wanted to see more options there, I can do that by going to the View menu and down to Arrangement Track Controls. And then one at a time, I can open up the I/O view and then back down and go to the volume portion. And then one more time going in and going track options. Now, right now, all these track heights are minimized. So there are several ways that we can increase or decrease the track height. And let me take you through those. So first of all, we can click one of these disclosure triangles on the left edge of a track. And I can adjust that by hovering my mouse over the bottom edge of that track and then clicking and dragging up or down. And if I wanted to do that to all tracks, I can just add my Option key, and notice that it's doing that to all tracks simultaneously now. I can also do that by scrolling. So if I hold down my Option or Alt key and then scroll with my mouse, I can adjust the track height. And one other way that I can do this to all of the tracks is by using this H or height key down here at the bottom, and that will size the track heights to fit in the available window space. And you can either do that by clicking on H or pressing the letter H key on your computer keyboard. Now, I'm going to give you one warning here. If the computer MIDI keyboard is active, and I can do that by clicking on this switch in the control bar, that will override some of the one key commands. And so if you're trying to do something and the key command isn't working, double check to see if this button is enabled. So I'll disable that. So let's take you through the options that we have here now on the track header. So here in the I/O section, I have my input settings and my output settings. And then in the middle, we have our monitoring options. So currently we're in auto input monitoring. And what that means is if the track record button is enabled, I'll only be able to hear the audio that's coming into the track through your interface. If that's disabled, I'll be able to monitor the clips that are on the track. If I enable the input monitoring button, notice that the clips are grayed out, and now I'll only be able to hear the audio that's coming in through your interface regardless of the record enable button status. And then on the right here, if I enable the off button, I'll only be able to monitor the clips that are on the track. Most of the time, I'm going to leave that in auto input monitoring. To the right of that, I've got the track activator button. And if that is enabled, I'll be able to hear the track. If that's disabled, the track will be muted. Then I've got the solo button. To the right of that, I've got the track enable button. Then on the second row, I've got the track volume setting. And if I click and drag up and down in that field, I can change that setting. Similarly, over here with the track pan setting, if I click and drag down, I can pan that track to the left And if I go up, I can pan the track to the right. If I double click on that, I can reset that to the default setting. Below that on the next row, I have my send amounts. And if I increase one of these levels, I'll be able to copy some signal from that track and route it to one of the 3 return tracks that are down here on the bottom. And then over here on the far right, I can work with any track delay that's happening. So I typically don't work with any of these open anymore because now I can have the mixer view showing in arrangement view, and that's going to allow me to have all of those settings down here at the bottom and not cluttering up the right hand side of the track. So let's go over back to view, and I'm going to close the volume part and back in, and I'll get rid of track options, and notice that I can do IO by key command, and on a Mac that's going to be Command Option I and Control Alt I on a PC. And then I can bring back my mixer by going Command Option M. That's Control Alt M if you're on a PC. Finally, let me just mention that you can change your track order that we see over here by clicking and dragging on one of the track headers and moving it lower. Or we can do that by holding down your Command key if you're on a Mac or your Control key if you're on a PC and using your arrow keys to move tracks up or down in order. So we're just getting started in arrangement view. So check out the next video where we'll discuss how to zoom in and out and make selections.